Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to remove the differential the easy way on a Honda S2000. This is the method used by well-known S2000 differential builder Putty Mod. Anyway, let's get to it. The first thing you want to do is get the entire car on jack stands. You're going to spend a good amount of time underneath the car, so make sure that you're comfy and you have plenty of room to work with. The next thing you want to do is remove the rear lower tie bar. This bar is held in place with 4 14mm head bolts and 3 10mm head bolts. This bar in particular is aftermarket, but the process should be the same for an OEM bar. As you remove the final bolts, support the bar so it does not fall on you. With the rear lower tie bar removed, you want to unbolt the differential from the front differential mount brackets. Use a 17mm socket to remove the 4 bolts securing the differential to the mount brackets. As you remove the final bolt, the differential will lower a bit, but it will continue to be supported by the rear mount brackets. The next thing you want to do is undo the propeller shaft from the differential. You'll want to start with the handbrake on to prevent the propeller shaft from spinning, remove the 2 lowest bolts, remove the handbrake to rotate the propeller shaft to move the next 2 bolts into place, engage the handbrake again, and then repeat this process 3 times for all 6 bolts. AP1s will require a 6mm hex drive, while AP2s will require an 8mm hex drive. Generally speaking, it's easy to strip these bolts, especially the smaller AP1 bolts. But since you've lowered the differential, the CV joint should be bent and give you direct access to the bolts without the need for a universal joint. If you do end up stripping the bolts, I highly recommend replacing yours with the more durable ones from LHT, which I will link down below. Once the propeller shaft is separated, I like to prop it up by wedging a roll of shop towels between the propeller shaft and the propeller shaft tunnel brace. Now that the propeller shaft is removed from the differential, you'll need to remove the drive shafts or axles from the differential. This car has drive shaft spacers and aftermarket hardware, but for OEM hardware, you'd want to use a 14mm socket to remove the bolt and a 14mm wrench to hold the accompanying nut if necessary. Removing the drive shaft bolts can be a bit tricky with the exhaust still on the car and the rear subframe in the way. I'm either using no extension or a 6-inch extension with an extended reach cordless ratchet to break the bolts free and zip them off. Similar to the propeller shaft bolts, you'll want to start with the handbrake on to prevent the drive shafts from spinning, remove whatever bolts you can access, remove the handbrake to rotate the drive shaft and move the next bolts into place, engage the handbrake again, and repeat this until you can remove the 6 bolts for each drive shaft. With the drive shafts unbolted from the differential, the last thing securing it in place are the rear mount brackets. But before you remove those, you want to support the differential with a hydraulic jack. Jack the differential back up a little bit to remove tension on the rear mount brackets. The differential is attached to the rear mount bracket with 4 studs and 4 nuts. Use a 17mm deep socket and a long reach ratchet to remove the 4 nuts securing the differential to the rear mount brackets. It will be tight with the exhaust and the rear sway bar in place, but it is doable. Once the nuts are removed, use an 8mm socket and a long reach ratchet to remove the 4 studs from the differential. At this point, the differential will be fairly free. The only thing preventing it from being lowered will be the locating pins on the drive shaft buckets. Push each drive shaft to the opposite side of the drive shaft to provide enough clearance to pull the locating pin out of the differential. Once the pin is out, you can rest the drive shaft on the subframe tubing. The first pin will be the most challenging. If you have a 2006 and up S2000, there will also be a tube coming off the top of the differential into a breather box that will have to be disconnected. At this point, the differential is finally free. The weight distribution of the differential will encourage it to tip forwards, so support the front of the differential and slowly lower the hydraulic jack to completely remove the differential. If the differential gets hung up on something, probably the axle locating pins, lock the jack and free the differential before proceeding. If you found this video helpful, give this video a thumbs up, and stay tuned for my next video where I'll show you how to reinstall the differential.